If Camille just put memory-wiping medication into the water supply without even waiting for the algorithm's approval, then Silo 18 may have just entered the most dangerous phase of the entire series, and not because of an outside threat, because the person making the biggest move right now is not the algorithm. It is not Juliette. It is the woman standing between them both, acting on instinct instead of orders. And in my opinion, that makes Camille more terrifying than anything hiding beneath the silo right now. All right, welcome back to Breakdown Epic. Let's get into it. Quick spoiler warning before we get into it. Now, this episode, titled Drive, earned its name in more ways than one, because every major storyline is physically or emotionally moving towards something that cannot be taken back. Daniel and Helen are being driven, literally, toward the people behind the Silo project. Juliette is driving her plan forward by trying to get people outside and into Silo 17. Camille is driving the silo toward a mass memory wipe, and Billings is being driven past the point where his badge means anything anymore. So let's break down what all of this actually means and why I think the next episode is going to be one of the most dangerous in the show's history. Let me start with Camille, because she is the one who scares me most right now. There is a moment in this episode that most people will probably treat as a simple plot development, but I think it is one of the darkest decisions any character has made in the entire series. She authorized the vitamin D plus to be added to the water supply.
Not because the algorithm told her to, because she decided it was necessary on her own. That is a massive shift. Up until now, every major suppression decision inside the silo has come from above. The algorithm calculates, the algorithm recommends, and the person in power executes. That chain of command, ugly as it is, at least has structure. But Camille just broke that chain. She looked at the situation, felt Juliette slipping further from her control, and decided to act before the system told her to. In my opinion, that makes her more dangerous than Bernard ever was. Bernard was cold, but he followed orders. Camille is now improvising. And improvisation inside a system built on rigid control is how catastrophes happen. Now rewind for a second, because there's another layer to this that makes it even worse. The algorithm, earlier in the episode, actually tried to calm her down. It told her she was chosen because she was capable, that she was not failing, that the job was simply hard. On the surface, that sounds supportive, but I think it was also the algorithm testing whether she would stay in line or start making decisions above her authorization level. And she failed that test. She escalated. She jumped ahead. She put the medication in the water before the algorithm even approved it. That tells me one of two things. Either the algorithm is going to punish her for overstepping, or the algorithm secretly wanted her to do it but needed plausible distance. Either way, the people of Silo 18 are now drinking something that could start erasing their memories within days.
And most of them have no idea. Now let's go to the other side of that coin, because Juliette's plan is simultaneously brilliant and incredibly reckless. She wants people sent to Silo 17, not truly to rescue children, but to get engineers close enough to find the safeguard pipe and figure out how to disable it. The children are the cover story. The real mission is dismantling the system's ability to kill everyone. And honestly, I respect the strategy. She is using the algorithm's own logic against it. She knows the system values stability, so she frames her request as something humanitarian. She knows it fears her influence, so she offers to go back on the memory pills if it cooperates. That is not just survival instinct, that is political chess. But here's the problem. The algorithm already suspects her. It told Camille directly that it does not trust Juliette's motives, and it made it clear that Lucas and Kennedy may not be allowed to reach Silo 17 alive. That means Juliette's plan may be dead before it even starts, and if it is, then she has just revealed her hand to the one system that never forgets what it sees. That is dangerous, because now the algorithm knows she is not just remembering, she is strategizing. And a Juliette who remembers is a problem. A Juliette who plans is a threat. Now let's talk about Daniel and Helen, because their storyline just crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. They are no longer investigating from the outside. They are being pulled inside. The self-driving car, the police escort, the mysterious man in the back seat, and then Senator Thurman standing at the hangar doors asking them to help save the world, all of that tells me one thing.
They are no longer civilians asking questions. They are being recruited. And recruitment in this world is never a choice. It is a polite version of join us or disappear. What makes this even more interesting is that both Daniel and Helen already prove they cannot be bought off through normal means. Helen turned down the dream job. Daniel kept pushing despite threats to Charlotte's care. So now the system is trying the one thing left: bring them inside and make them believe the mission is worth joining voluntarily. In my opinion, this is exactly how the silo ideology spreads, not through force alone, but through convincing smart people that the terrible plan is actually the only plan. And if Daniel and Helen walk into that hangar and see the silo project for the first time, they may face the hardest question of the entire old world timeline. Is this worth helping build, even if you know what it costs? Now let's shift to Billings, because his arc in this episode might be the quietest but most important emotional shift in the whole hour. He has officially stopped believing in the pact. Not in a dramatic speech, not in some visible rebellion. He just stopped caring whether the rules worked because he finally realized nobody above him follows them either. The moment Mark told him he was wearing a dead man's uniform and it was too big for him, something broke. And what replaced it was not anger. It was pragmatism. He started trading favors instead of issuing orders. He started using leverage instead of authority.
He started acting less like a sheriff and more like someone who finally understands how power actually works inside this place. That is a huge evolution. And I think it sets him up to become either one of Juliette's strongest future allies or one of the most unpredictable forces in the silo. Now, here is the detail that I think most people are sleeping on. Glenda Harwood appearing in 2 places at nearly the same time on the security footage. That is not a small continuity detail. That is a clue the show wants us to chew on. And honestly, there are only a few explanations that make sense. Either she knows about hidden routes inside the silo that let her move between levels faster than anyone realizes, which would mean the tunnels are more extensive and more accessible than the show has told us, or there is someone else who looks like her, which opens up a much stranger possibility. Or the footage itself is being manipulated, which would mean the surveillance system is not as reliable as the people running it believe. Whichever answer is true, it connects directly to the supply thefts, to Orla's death, and possibly to a much larger hidden operation that nobody on the committee fully understands yet. Now, let me lock in my biggest prediction for what comes next. I think Sims is running out of time. Camille's warning was not vague. She told him directly that when she finds out what he is hiding, she will act. That is not a threat from a wife. That is a warning from the head of IT. And once she discovers Bernard is alive, that Jules has been getting help from inside, and that her own husband orchestrated most of it, I do not think she hesitates. I think she sends him to clean.
And that would be the most devastating death of the season because it would come from the one person he thought would never fully choose the system over him. Before I wrap up, here is the fast-fire version. Camille authorized the memory wipe without the algorithm's approval, which makes her more dangerous than Bernard ever was. Juliette's plan to reach Silo 17 is smart, but may already be compromised. The algorithm told Camille it does not trust Juliette's motives. Daniel and Helen are being recruited into the Silo project itself. Billings has stopped enforcing rules and started using leverage. Glenda Harwood's footage raises massive questions about hidden routes or surveillance manipulation. And Sims is now closer than ever to being discovered and possibly sentenced by his own wife. But anyway, that is my breakdown of Silo Season 3, Episode 6, and why I think this episode quietly changed the balance of power inside Silo 18 more than any action scene could. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Do you think Camille sends Sims to clean before the season ends, or does the algorithm get to him first? I will catch you in the next one.